No. It's an ugly word. People don't want to hear it, and we don't like to say it. So why not spend a little time talking about this ugly word that tends to creep up more often than you probably realize? If you take some time throughout your day, while we're at work or at home, and start thinking about the amount of times that you say the word no, it really is astonishing when you start to really consider the quantity of times that you say this. So here's the deal. Our guests don't like to hear the word no. Think about when you go out and you go to a restaurant, you go to a hotel, you go to any business, you're looking for an experience to happen. You're looking to get whatever service you went for, to get every part of it the way that you want it. You're looking to get whatever product that you went for, to get any options with it that you may have desired. The last thing you want is to hear the word no. So here's the deal. No could be a response to a special request that our guests have with us at our hotels or in our restaurants or in our banquet facilities. No could be a response to any kind of an add-on request, things like that. Maybe we're a hotel that doesn't offer a continental breakfast in the morning. No could be the response to that. No could be the response to a number of different things throughout our day at our workplace. Maybe something is broken down. Maybe our hot tub is broken down. The guest asks when it's going to be back up. Our answer is no, it won't be back up until Monday, and it's a Friday. What are all these things that could go wrong with our hotels and with our facilities? So I want you to start thinking through ways to say no without ever saying the word no. All right? Guests can ask you, do you offer XYZ? What we do offer is this. Can you give me XYZ? What I can give you is this. You know, our guests really don't care what we can't do for them. And the same thing goes when it's time to apologize to our guests if something went wrong. In another segment, I talk about ways that we apologize the proper way and achieve our service recovery in a way that our guests will remember it in a good way. Same thing goes with this. Guests don't care what you can't do. When something goes wrong and it's time to apologize, guests don't care why something went wrong. They don't care about the backstory. What they care about is what we will do for them, how we're going to fix the situation, and how the outcome is going to be. They really don't care about the backstory. Same thing with this. They don't care about what we can't do for them. All right? So we're going to focus on what we can do, what we can offer, what we do offer. All right? Okay, so I want to take a moment here and explain to you an exercise that I do at some of the training sessions that I've done in the past, and I like to do this a lot. So I'll have the group of folks, and we're usually already in groups of 5 or 6 people per table around the room. And if there's any individuals that are straggling, we'll have them get to another table so that they're in a group of folks. And I'll ask the group to take some time and think amongst each other, what are the top 3 complaints that they feel that we receive at our hotel? Now, sometimes the groups tend to think about the hotel as a whole. Sometimes the groups tend to think about their individual department, what complaints they receive. But the important thing is to take some time because we want this to be a useful activity. And I would stress, maybe try this on your own after this video is over with. I think if you start to take a different approach to thinking through some of these things, some of these obstacles that you may run into with your guests, with our customers, that you'll start to take a different outlook on how to handle and how to respond. So just riddle me this. I'm going to continue. So we'll stay in our little groups, and I'll ask the groups, come up with the top 3 complaints that you feel we receive. All right? So folks are taking their time thinking about the complaints. We really want them to be a good list, okay? And it's incredible what some folks will come up with. And every hotel is very different. Every restaurant, every banquet facility is very, very different with what they experience as what they feel the top 3 complaints are in their area or at their hotel. So I'm going to use a recent example that I have just quite fresh in my mind yet. And it was a good example. At one of our properties that I was at recently, I had asked the group to do this exercise that I just described. And there was a table that had several young ladies at it. And these young ladies, all of them work at the snack bar that is off to the side of the lobby in this particular hotel that we operate. Now this snack bar stays pretty busy. It's in a high traffic area of the hotel, and it's a go up and grab and go situation. You don't have to sit there and wait for your food, that type of thing. All right. So, by the way, this snack bar has incredible ice cream at it. So, I like to talk about sweets. Anybody who knows me knows that I really enjoy my sweets. So anyhow, they've got awesome ice cream. Well, I'd asked these young ladies, what are the top 3 complaints? I want your group to give me a first example of what one of your complaints are that you put on your list of the top 3. So one of the young ladies says, well, one of our most frequent complaints is that we don't have the flavor of ice cream that individuals want. So an individual will walk up to the counter and they might have a specific flavor in their mind and we just don't have it. Now in my mind I'm thinking, okay, I've seen this ice cream counter before, just the night before in fact, and they have 8 different flavors. Now that might not seem like that much, okay? They have 8 different flavors. It's one of those counters you can see through that has the big buckets of ice cream, much like at a Baskin Robbins or something like that. But they have 8 different flavors. Now, some of the flavors are your mainstream type flavors that you think of all the time, and then there are a few that are flavors that I'm a 37-year-old guy had never heard of in my life. So you've got a huge variety in only 8 flavors there. It runs the spectrum. All right, so she says, we get this complaint that oftentimes we won't have the flavor that people want. Now, when I had been there the night before, one of the young ladies at this table was, at this table that I was talking to, was the young lady who was working the counter the night before. I went up to the counter, and I was looking back on the ice cream, and I just couldn't make a decision because I love my sweets, and they all sounded good, okay? I really wanted all of them. But that's not practical, and I would get huge. So, I said, I just don't know. I can't make a decision. And I kind of was looking at him, and she says, well, we've got this blueberry waffle cone flavor that I have yet to hear anyone not like. And it's my favorite. I want to have it every single day. It's that good. Now, how could I not have that flavor then? I had never heard of it, one, and she sold it to me too. All right, so I'm going somewhere with this. So I looked at this group of gals and the whole room, and I said, how can we help them through this common complaint or objection that they get? So let's just say the first situation would be this. We'd look at situations where we could remove the obstacle, overcome the obstacle, or provide alternatives for the obstacle. So we're talking about remove, overcome, and alternatives. All right. So how could we remove this obstacle in this not having the right flavor of ice cream to please Mr. Customer? Well, if we don't have the flavor he's looking for, let's just say Mr. Customer walks up and he wants the vanilla bean ice cream with the caramel swirl through it, and we just don't happen to have the vanilla bean ice cream with the caramel swirl through it. How could we remove that obstacle? Well, the only way that we could completely remove this opposition would be to have umpteen different buckets of ice cream behind the counter of every flavor that you could think of, so that the chances that we would have every flavor that anyone could dream up covered would be almost 99.9%. It's just not practical, is it? We have space constraints, we have budget constraints, we're going to have spoilage at that point. That's probably not practical in this situation to remove that obstacle altogether. What could we do next? We could overcome the obstacle, all right? How would we do that, you may say? Well, back to what the young lady did with me when I couldn't decide, all right? I wanted one of all of them. It wasn't a matter of I didn't want any of them, all right? Or they didn't have the specific one that I wanted. She used her personal preferences and she sold it to me. We could do the same thing to overcome the lack of the specific flavor, vanilla bean with the caramel swirl flavor, all right? We could say, well, what we do have is this blueberry waffle cone flavor back here. I bet you've never heard that, have you? Have you ever had that? Well, no. Maybe you want to give it a shot. It's my favorite, and you know what? I have yet to have anybody have the blueberry waffle cone that didn't like it. Why don't you let me just get you a little sample? Now, I have to believe that even the toughest individual probably would at least take the sample at that point, all right? How could you not? It sounds phenomenal. She sold it, all right? She was something that she believed in, she was passionate about it, and she took just that little extra effort and tried to appeal it to us, all right? That would be a way you could overcome saying no, we don't have the flavor you want, all right? What would be the next thing? Well, we'd offer alternatives, all right? If he still says, I really want the vanilla bean with the caramel swirl, and you just don't have it. Well, sir, as much as I'd love for you to try what we do have here, the nearest ice cream shop other than us is about 6 miles up the road. I would be happy to give you directions. I hope you can find what you want. Drive safely, please. All right? That would be offering alternatives. Yes, we are turning him away. However, we are in the people pleaser business. Am I wrong or am I right? We are still offering our guest alternatives and trying to help him along to find exactly what it is that he's looking for. So when it comes down to this, folks, nobody wants to hear the word no, all right? At the end of the day, like I said, we are people pleasers, and that is what we're all here for, regardless of if we work at the welcome desk, we may work in banquets, we may work in the restaurant, in our retail store, at our golf course, so on and so forth. We all are going to come into situations where we're going to find ourselves telling our guests no, and they don't want to hear it, and we really shouldn't want to say it. You know, removing those obstacles, overcoming, and offering alternatives. Keep that process in mind when you're coming up for ways to say no without ever saying the word no, all right? Alternatives are oftentimes the key there. Or in overcoming those common complaints that we may have, all right? I would stress to all of you, try to come up with that list of what you feel you're having to overcome often, all right? Because it's nice to have, to be prepared with a good quality answer for our guests on ways that we could either overcome or offer alternatives. And above all, if our operation has a way to remove those complaints or obstacles, we really should do everything in our power to do so, all right? Some other situations where it could be the case. Let's say a guest booked on a third party and we wouldn't normally, or it's not policy to offer upgrades or something for third parties, and they've asked for it. What are ways we could overcome that? All right. If we don't have a restaurant, what are ways that we could overcome that? I could go on and on and on and on. But the kicker is this, and I'm going to leave you with this. Guests remember hotels and team members that are easy to do business with. So by trying to find ways that we're not going to say the word no and coming up with these alternatives, ways to overcome or ways to remove those situations, we will make ourselves easier to do business with. All right, folks? Thanks so much for watching. You have a great day. Thanks again.